because we are going to be making snow today. Something really fun. Once again, if you want to go back and watch the videos from the previous month's STEAM lessons, they are available on our website, on our Facebook, and on our YouTube pages. So make sure you join in. For today's lesson, it's going to be once again really simple. You need a container. It doesn't have to be clear, but it can be a container that does need to be easily washed. So you're going to need cornstarch, shaving cream, and optional glitter. Another optional thing is you might want an apron because today's lesson will get messy. I'm not wearing an apron. Do not follow my example. I'm just going to encourage all the parents out there to make sure your child has an apron, and you will understand why in a second. So, like I said, today's lesson is going to be about snow. Snow is actually tiny crystals that fall from the sky. A crystal is a solid substance that has hard surfaces and sharp corners. Snow is made up out of single crystals as well as clumps of crystals, and those clumps of crystals are snowflakes. That's what it's called. Snow is only formed when it's really high in the clouds and a place where the water appears as a gas. And so when it's really, really cold in the clouds, usually it has to be between -40 and 32 degrees, is when that water vapor, that gas, will form into crystals. And if it's heavy enough, those crystals will fall to the ground. Make sense? My cat agrees that it does make sense. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, here's a really fun fact. One snowflake can either, so usually it can be individual itty bitty ice crystals that fall to the earth, or a single snowflake can have up to 100 different ice crystals in it, which I think is really cool. The way those ice crystals form together, it really depends on the moisture that's in the cloud as well as how cold it is. And they always are going to have a very unique design. But even though each snowflake is going to be unique, there is usually about 7 different parts of a snowflake that are universal around. Snowflakes will either have stars, needles, branches, plates, columns with plates, or they'll be irregular or damaged, usually. And like I said, the shape of that snowflake depends on how cold it is in the cloud, as well as how much moisture is in that cloud. Obviously, where we are on the earth will depend on how much snow we get. If we were to go to North and South Poles and places near there, obviously snow is going to fall year round. There's already been snow up in the Northeast, and there's already been snow up in Canada. Places like Colorado are going to see snow from anytime from here all the way maybe until March, sometimes even a little bit of April. The closer you get to the equator or the middle of the earth, which means less snow, which means you'll see less snow. So here, unfortunately, we will not see a lot of snow. We'll cross my fingers, hopefully we'll get a couple of snowfalls this year. But yeah, I'm from Tennessee, and so whenever I go into the mountains, there is usually from November all the way through March, definitely. Occasionally April, but that's sometimes a little rare. Usually definitely March. I can look out into the mountains and I can see snow in the Smoky Mountains. Not a lot in the valley, but definitely in the mountains. I'm sorry, my cat is trying to escape the house. Okay, anyway, she wants to go outside because it's a beautiful day and she's begging me to go outside. So, one thing that's really cool about snow is that it impacts our climate and pretty much all living things for the most part. It really keeps the ground cold, and this is because it keeps the air cold, and that's because snow, when it falls, it will reflect and bounce back the Earth's heat. So when you go outside, it's a beautiful snowy morning and everything's just quiet. Usually it's really cold, not just because it's between -40 and 32 degrees, but because the sun is reflecting the snow is reflecting the sun's heat. There we go. In some cases, it can also help protect some flowers and plants on the earth because the snow can create a layer that will be able to trap some of that heat in the earth to protect those flowers against the cold temperatures that is happening above the snow. Also, I have a question for you. Is snow really white? Like, we go outside, it's a beautiful snowy morning, and everything is just white and it's just quiet. and it's just perfect. But is snow really white? Well, to understand the answer to this question, you've got to understand how we react to colors. The only reason we see color is because it depends on how light reflects and bounces off and is absorbed to the objects around us. That's the only reason we see color. So snow is made up of tiny crystals, and when a light hits the crystal, it is scattered all over that crystal into the world that surrounds it. And so so depending on the objects that is happening around that crystal will determine whether or not it appears white. There are some places on this earth where snow appears blue or even red or pink. There are places where let's see, snow will be a filter. It will absorb a lot of red light, which will make it look blue. And there are places maybe like in Colorado or high in the mountains or even the polar regions like north and south, like the north and south poles, where a type of red algae or a type of red plant, the way the light will be reflected off that plant will make the snow look pink. So is snow white? Yes and no. It really depends on what's happening in the world at the time. So here are some fun facts about snow. A blizzard happens when cold air sits at the Earth's surface while the warm air sits above it. And this mixture of the two causes a blizzard. So it's cold air at the surface of the Earth and then warm air above it, and when it mixes, it creates strong blizzards. And it'll bring really strong snow and winds, and it can last up to several days. So there's that fun fact. Sleet is tiny rain particles that freeze as they're on the way down. So it's winter time, and obviously sleet happens, especially in places like here, where it's not quite cold enough to create snow. It's rain because it wasn't cold enough necessarily in the air, but as it's falling to the ground, it's freezing because it's just cold enough to create a little freezing, just cold enough to just cause it to freeze. So avalanches, we all know what avalanche is. It happens when unstable sheets of snow break off a mountain slope and they race down the mountain. And they can move as fast as 245 miles an hour. That is a fast avalanche. So next time you're watching the movie Mulan, and the part where Mulan causes an avalanche to defeat the Huns, know that that avalanche is moving 245 miles an hour. Fun fact for you. Alright, so let's get on to our experiments. Like I said today, you're just going to need cornstarch, shaving cream, glitter is optional. You're going to need a container. It doesn't have to be plastic, it doesn't have to be clear. It's something that can be easily washed, and I'm going to highly encourage you to grab an apron because you're going to need it. So to make our own snow, obviously we're not going to get in the clouds and make it. We are going to mix cornstarch and shaving cream together. And the actual directions I was looking up, I think it said to just pour the whole thing of cornstarch and the whole thing of shaving cream in the same container together. But I am not, because my container is kind of small. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just pour a little bit here and there of both and measure it out. Because you want the texture of it to be kind of that powdery feeling that you get with snow, but you don't want to be too dry or too wet. You'll understand what I'm saying as you're playing around with it. But it's really easy. You're just going to mix the cornstarch and the shaving cream together, and then you're going to mix them both with your hands. Do this inside actually. And so you're going to get in there with your hands, and you're going to just mix it up until it gets to the texture that you want it to get. So, and you kind of want the cornstarch to be, I'm going to need a little more of this sucker, yeah. You want the cornstarch to be all kind of mixed up in there with the shaving cream. You don't want them, you don't want them separated. You want them all mixed in there together. So, this is why I said you might want an apron, because you're just going to get in there. Yeah, see, mine is already filming pretty well, actually. My hands are all nasty, messy. and it forms just a really cool texture. Once you get how much cornstarch and how much shaving cream to have in there, it really does form a really cool, just really fun texture. And because of the shaving cream is there, it will be wet enough for you to form balls with. I do not encourage throwing these fake snow balls inside the house. I do not encourage that. I do not really encourage it outside because this is shaving cream, and cornstarch after all is not real snow, so your parents may not like that too much, but you might be able to make enough to make a mini indoor snowman. So let me wash my hands real quick. I'll be back in a second. All right, so I'm back. I've washed my hands, and now that my hands are washed, I can now play with the snow. It's really fun to play with. This is where the glitter comes into play. Once again, you don't have to have glitter. I'm only gonna put a little bit. It does go everywhere, but the glitter, if you mix it in there, will give it some kind of a sparkly mixture. Because you know, when you go outside and snow in the morning, after a really nice clear snowfall and it's kind of sparkling in the sunlight, the glitter will give it that little bit of look there. So this is something that's really fun to do. Mine is now done, and I can have all kinds of fun playing now with fake snow. So, if you guys have enjoyed this really fast experiment, have a fantastic new year, everyone, and I will see you guys next year in January 2021. Bye.